Hello again, everybody. Brian E, aka Miss87 here. And after venting my frustration at Mike Tyson's Punch Out, 'cause now I'm stuck on Super Macho Man instead of Mr. Sandman, I decided to go a different route. Games that I really like. So I decided to go with a series of Nintendo 64 wrestling games. At least the ones made by the Aki Corporation and published by THQ. This is WCW vs NWO World Tour. Released in 1997 for the N64 as an exclusive. This begins a series of wrestling games that are very well known even to this day. This is pretty much where it all began in terms of Nintendo 64 wrestling games. So let's go. Anyway, WCW World Championship Wrestling was for a while the second biggest, and at one point the biggest, wrestling company in the United States. Having gotten their start in the Southeast, in the Georgia area, forming from the remnants of companies like Jim Crockett Promotions, Georgia Championship Wrestling, media mogul Ted Turner, you all know him, Turner Broadcasting, TNT, TBS, decided to throw his hat in the ring by acquiring the territories there and taking it national. Just like the World Wrestling Federation, now WWE, was doing at the same time. They had gone national and were starting to even go global. So WCW decided to do a little bit of the same in the 90s. When they started becoming very popular, that's when the Aki Corporation and Asmik Ace, the developers, decided to get the license and create a nice game of wrestling. This is also released in Japan as Virtual Pro Wrestling, which focused more on Japanese wrestlers and territories, but did also have most of the roster, if not the whole roster, from this game. Anyway, this would evolve into the next year's release, WCW NWO Revenge, which is still regarded as one of the better out of the bunch. And then the license went, the wrestling license went from WCW to WWF, as Aki went with WWF and created WrestleMania 2000, another good game, building off of what was created in these games. Then you had WWF No Mercy, which in the internet wrestling community is regarded as the pinnacle of Nintendo 64 wrestling games. To this day, almost 20 years later, well, about 23, 24 years later. But enough backstory, let's go. So this game focuses mostly on the whole idea of World Championship Wrestling going against the New World Order, which was formed in 1996 by wrestlers Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash. Hall and Nash invaded WCW after their contracts in the WWF ran out, and they decided to sign with WCW for more money and less dates. Definitely better for them, and obviously, cushy job gets a cushy job. Hogan had been part of the WCW for about 2 years up to that point, and then turned heel by joining them and forming the New World Order, which basically just ran roughshod over the rest of WCW. And now you got this whole faction war, the stalwart WCW against these outrageous newcomers in the NWO. So there's a mode where you could do a 5-on-5 elimination, almost like a team battle, where if you beat somebody, they get eliminated and you go against the next person. And if you get beat, then it goes to your next person in the lineup. Exhibition is your standard one-on-one or tag team, handicap, or battle royale if you want. League challenge is where you choose a league to fight in. You face off against a bunch of wrestlers in that league. You become champion, and you unlock some wrestlers. League is a 16-person round robin, 8 teams of 2, 8 teams, 2 each. Tournament is another, standard tournament, almost like 2-man teams. It's basically, kind of like a King of the Ring sort of thing, and options. Okay. Well, let's go for an exhibition just to get a feel for it. We'll go with single one-on-one. And you got red corner, which is one side, and blue corner is the other. You could have a 2-computer match. You could do up to 4 players, obviously, because the console could do it. Now here's your wrestlers. Most of you who've watched wrestling in the 90s, like I did, you recognize a lot of these guys. You got Lex Luger, Sting, the Giant, who would later become Paul White, the Big Show. Paul White's his real name. You got the Steiner brothers, Scott and Rick. This is before Scott went all big Papa Pump, cut his hair short, bleached blonde, bulked up, got on the gas, steroids. Anyway, go Ric Flair, styling and profiling, Ultimo Dragon, Dean Malenko. Yeah, so, you got all the guys that were, mid to high card at this time in WCW. Then you've got the NWO, which includes, there's Hogan. Sting? Why are there two Stings? Well, it's because there was a time when Sting was kind of like in the shadows. He was off TV, and the NWO brought in a Sting. His real name is Jeff Farmer, who would basically, like, you know, swerve everybody, thinking, oh, Sting turned on WCW. Sting had been, you know, the hero for WCW all these years. Like, he was one of the top stars, you know, multiple-time world champion, facing off against guys like Flair and all that. But then it was revealed it was fake, and this was the real Sting all along. Yeah, Buff Bagwell, Eric Bischoff, who at the time was executive vice president of WCW. He was, you know, put in the power by Ted Turner, but on screen he was the man responsible for putting together the NWO. Scott Norton, big in Japan. There's Nash, formerly Diesel in WWF. Scott Hall, formerly Razor Ramon. And Syxx, formerly the 1-2-3 Kid, who would later become X-Pac when he'd returned to the WWF in '98. And you get a bunch of guys from international wrestling. Now, these are based off of real wrestling promotions in Japan, as well as real wrestlers. And they changed the names, but all the wrestlers are pretty much there. You know, you've got Saladin, who is Abdullah the Butcher. Baba. Let's see who else. Take Blackheart. You know, you got a lot of the guys. You know, you got Hayabusa. You got you got who else? Gary Albright or whatever. Black belt is Taka Michinoku. So it's basically Michinoku Pro. So yeah, definitely, you know, a lot of classic names. If you're big on like Japan wrestling, Puroresu, then you would know a lot about it. Ah, good old Rey Mysterio. Eddie Guerrero. Rest in peace, man. Great, let's do Eddie. We'll go Eddie up against... Well, we're going cruiserweights, so let's go Syxx. Alright. Bring out... So you can change your rules. You know, you got... obviously, you can set your time limit. I always go with no limit. Arena basically just changes what's on the canvas, because all the arenas are the same. Pinfall is when you pin somebody to the mat for the count of 3. Submission is when you get them in a submission move, like a choke hold, like a sleeper hold, or an arm bar, or a leg lock, and they tap out. TKO is when you knock them out and they can't get up. Rope break is if you're doing a submission move or a pin. If they reach the ropes, then you have to break up the pin. Ring out means that you can be out of the ring for up to a count of 10, a count of 20, which is usually the count in Japan. Lumberjack means if you go out, it automatically puts you back in. And no means no countouts. You can go out of the ring, everything. Quick match usually just determines the damage threshold, like how fast you fill up your spirit meter. I'll get into that when we get there. I'll keep it at no. And this is where you can set a handicap, where the higher up, the more health they have. So, very handy if you're playing against another human player who's not as good or something like that. Alright, well, let's get with it. So as you can see, we're both basically looking the same. So he does his thing. There's mine. Now, this is pre-Latino Heat Eddie Guerrero. So, if you haven't played an Aki game, how it works is A does your grapple moves, B does your punches. If you hold your button down, you could do a stronger grapple. Like, hold A down, you could do a stronger grapple. Hold B, you do a stronger punch. C buttons control things such as getting in and out of the ring. Up C gets you in and out. Down C has you run. Right C changes your focus in matches where there's more than one opponent. And left C... I think, if anything, I think it when your opponent's on the ground, it flips them over. Oh, speaking of flip over, hello. So now, if you don't already know with all the little diatribe I just gave you, like the history of wrestling kind of thing, I'm a big wrestling fan. I grew up on it. You know, my dad, when I was younger, I used to play wrestle with my dad on his bed, and he used to call me Flying Brian. And obviously, years later, I found out that that was a nickname of the late, great Brian Pillman, another wrestler who wrestled for both WCW and WWF in his time. Passed away in 1997. He was part of the Hollywood Blondes tag team with stunning Steve Austin, the man who would become Stone Cold Steve Austin. Okay, now it's C up to Rotate. Okay. I think they change in the later games. So anyway, the more you beat up on your opponent, the more it fills up your spirit meter. That's basically like your adrenaline. Like, the better it's doing, then, you know, the less likely you are to get countered, the more damage you can do, and if you fill your meter, you're able to pull off your special move. Every wrestler has like a finishing move that they do when the match is over. Ooh, big knee drop. And you can also taunt by moving the control stick. And once your meter's filled, it automatically puts you into special. And that means when you do when you get into a grapple or anything like that, you move the control stick in any direction and you do a special. See, there's a special, the Gory Bomb. And then Eddie Guerrero also, his other big move is a Frog Splash, which is done off the top rope. I don't think you need a spirit. I don't think you need a special to do it in these games. Although later games, when you customize the moves, you can have it so it, so you can. Where you could have like, when you have a special, it does a different move. So as you can see, Six is about to get his special. I'm not liking this one bit. Counter. Crossface chicken wing. Shades of Bob Backlund. But now he's got his special, which means I have to either stay on the offensive or run. I'll stay on the offensive, thank you. Woo, woo, woo. Get out of my ring. No! I'm still fighting in this. The thing is, with the way these early wrestling games are, the difficulties gets like I could get a lot of back and forth before you finally get some momentum going, and matches could last forever. I tried to go for a stop. And shoulder breaker. Going for it. All right, come on, Eddie. Fly! There's a Frog Splash. That's the move. Other moves that Eddie Guerrero would use in his career would be a triple suplex combo called Three Amigos, where he does a vertical suplex, and then after he once he's done, he holds onto the guy, twists his body to pull them back up, does another suplex, twists his body around to get back up, and does a third suplex. And another move he did was called a Lasso from El Paso. It's a submission move that targets the legs. It's similar to what you get from like almost like a figure four leg lock, but there's less to do with your legs bending and more of like doing it with your arms and just wrenching the. Yeah. So. I feel like I'm just giving like a history lesson on wrestling. Okay, come on. All right, let's see if we can send him home. Yep, boom. 1, 2. Well, I still got a special. Let me see if they make it, because I know in the later games you can actually steal your opponent's special by if they have a special move where you grapple in the front. If you grapple them and you press A and B instead of moving the control stick, you do their move. So, like for example, if I was up against Kevin Nash, I could do his jackknife powerbomb. If I was up against Scott Hall, I could do the Outsider's Edge or the Razor's Edge. If I'm against DDP, who's a character you can unlock in this game, I would be able to do the Diamond Cutter. Shoulders back, chest out. Sorry, a lot of references I'm making that I'm probably going to go over a lot of your heads. I don't know how many of you guys are all wrestling fans, but I imagine people who are tuning into this video are at least some kind of wrestling fan. At least enough where they know most of what I'm talking about, or can tell me if I'm wrong about something, which is entirely possible. I don't get all my facts straight. And as you can see now, my character is holding his stomach. You know, that means I'm taking too much damage to a certain part of the body. That's what can happen in the games, is that they start showing, like, he's holding, Six is holding his head. That means, obviously, I've been doing a lot of damage to his head. All these kicks to the head and shit like that. Yeah, that'll do that to you. Okay, going fall away slam. That there. So I've been playing wrestling games for most of my life, especially when I was younger, playing games like WWF Royal Rumble on the Sega Genesis, and then getting into WrestleMania, the arcade game, when I had a Sega Saturn. And then, moving on to games like WWF Attitude on the PlayStation, the SmackDown series on PlayStation, then PlayStation 2, going over to SmackDown vs. Raw later on, and now WWE games are made by 2K. And those games are hit and miss, depending on, what you're a fan of. And I still play those games to this day. Let's see. Let me try and go surprise them with the... Oh! Tombstone! Yeah! Rest in peace. Oh, I forgot. It's C down to do a pin in this game. They changed it to L in Revenge. Yes! Eddie Guerrero, the pride of El Paso. Alright, well, that's an easy one. Okay, that's enough for that. Let's go for... let's do, Let's do the, yeah. Except here we'll do, 3 with 3. We'll keep it simple. So, I chose to be NWO, so WCW is going to start off. They'll be... Giant, Sting, Luger. And this will be Hall, Nash, Hogan. Cool with me. Okay, no time limit, no count out. Let's go. So, like I said, starts off with first person versus first person. If whoever loses, it goes on to the next person in the lineup, and all goes until the team is depleted. So let's start it. Say hello to the bad guy. I know that was his old one, but when he first showed up in WCW, he actually still had his Razor Ramon accent. But that was mostly to kind of play with the idea of he was invading, because there was the whole thing of, oh, they left WWF. Are they still working for them? Have they come to sabotage the competition? Because that's one of the main tropes you'd get in wrestling. It'd be like a guy from another company shows up and say, hey, he doesn't work here. He's not supposed to be here. They've played that trope many times over the years in wrestling. Mostly in American wrestling, but that's because American wrestling is more towards like the theatrics of it, storylines and stuff. Ah. Oh yeah, Ghetto Blaster. Nice freaking jumping sidekick to the head. And go right into the barricade. We're hurting now. And oh yeah, like that's gonna happen in real life. At this time, the Giant was like over 400 pounds, and when he was in WWF in 1999 going forward, he was mostly built around 500 pounds. Especially when he started putting on a larger mass. So remember, there were times in WCW where the Giant was actually very cut, especially in his early times. Like when he first started, he was, I think, in his mid-20s. He was a former basketball player in college, and then pursued wrestling. And in 1995, he made his debut in WCW as part of the Dungeon of Doom, which was this group that was put together by veteran wrestler Kevin Sullivan to try to destroy Hulkamania, because Hulk Hogan had debuted for the WCW the year before in '94, and he had quickly become champion. He was like, just like in WWF in the '80s, he was like the pride and joy of the company, like the best of the best. Everybody loved him, but in reality, fans were starting to get a little tired of his shtick. This wasn't the glamour days of the '80s anymore. Okay, but that's kind of cool. Like I can regale you guys with a little bit of wrestling trivia and stuff that I remember over the years, and at the same time get to play decent wrestling games. I think I'll probably wrap this series. I'll probably go through this and then play the next one, which is Revenge. I'll probably do that next. I might even do that today. Maybe I'll just go through like a little marathon session, just break them up game by game. Yep, boom! That's an overhead belly-to-belly suplex. Oh, you're feeling it now, aren't you? Yep, I got my special. Let me see. Ow! When you have your special and you get knocked down, you automatically get back up. Very handy. Here we go. It's the Razor's Edge, although it's a sit-down version, so it's just like the damn special that Eddie Guerrero had. In reality, the move is he gets him up, does like the crucifix where he stretches his arms out over his back, and then falls forward, throwing the person over his shoulders. It's a pretty cool move. And especially when it's done with a guy like as big as Scott Hall, because Scott Hall was like, you know, about 6.5 feet tall, weighing nearly, you know, about 280 pounds. So, you know, he wasn't beefy, but he also wasn't scrawny. Oh, there's that blatant choke, but he has to break it up because my feet got to the ropes. Aha, he couldn't even get a special. I mean, he got it, but he couldn't do it. Now, ram your head into this. Boosh! Yeah, Scott Hall's got your number, pal. Oh, we're going up top now. Superplex, boom. Okay, and that sleeper. Ooh, yeah, close line. That pin.
1, 2, 3.
Got him.
3 count.
And that's one down. Bring on the next one. So now see, Giant's out. Now it's up against Sting. It's Sting! Sorry, had to do a Tony Schiavone there. Now the thing is with this one, the damage you've taken carries over. Because as you already see, I'm still holding myself from when I got beat up by Giant. So you don't regenerate health. I mean, maybe you do regenerate a little bit, but not much. It's like right now, see, look at that. I'm already getting waylaid, walloped, whooped. Whatever you would call it, it's a stomping. It's a beaten and a half. God, jeez, I feel like I'm up against Super Macho Man again. Oh God. Oh, he could have me. 2. Nope. Late kick out at 2. And oh, fucking, this is fucking karate, a fucking flying karate kick, like a fucking Liu Kang kick. Can I do his move? Nope. Yeah. Come on, you coward. Take your medicine. Yeah. So as you can see, like the mechanics of this game are, you know, kind of stiff at times, but remember, this is the first one they did for this console. I believe they did do a similar game for the PlayStation. It was WCW versus the World. And it was more of a 3D polygon thing, and more reminiscent of what... No, it was more reminiscent of this. I kept thinking it was closer to what would become the WWF SmackDown series, which was developed by Ukes. But no, that would be more along the lines of another game that they did, which was Power Move Pro Wrestling, which I think was 1995 as well. And that had similar gameplay to what you'd see from the SmackDown series. You know, more like arcadey style rather than something like this, which is more down to earth. Haha! Wrapped around the sleeper. Let's see if I can get a quick outsider's edge in. Nope. I got that good old fallaway slam. That was a move in Scott Hall's repertoire for a while, both WWF and WCW. Except he'd usually do it where, like, he'd pick you up, he'd pause for a second, like, bring one hand off of you, and just hold you in one hand, just, like, against your body, for, like, about a couple seconds, and then flip him back. A little bit of razzle-dazzle. Not every move has to be the same old, same old. And flip over. Oh, single leg crab. Half crab, as they call it. Boston crab be if you hook both legs. Oh, he's got another finisher. Oh, could this be? Could we go for a clean sweep? Not even have to worry about playing as Nash or Hogan? 1, 2, 3. There we go. That's 2. Now it's Luger. I'm trying to remember who the unlockables are. I know DDP's one of them. I want to say Macho Man is another one. 'Cause he was in WCW at this time. And I remember he was one of the 3 that went up against the Outsiders at Bash at the Beach 96. That's where Hogan came out and turned on WCW. He gave the big leg drop to Savage, and then beat him up some more. Gave him another leg drop. I think another leg drop after that, as the crowd was just throwing trash in the ring and booing. And then Hogan just talking about how he did all the things for charity. You're talking about saying the prayers, taking the vitamins, and, believing in yourself, and he felt like, the fans turned their backs on him. I was like, they could just stick it and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool, and that helped. That was a big turning point for pro wrestling in general. It helped WCW start getting better ratings. More people were buying the pay-per-views, buying merchandise. The NWO shirt, which is just a simple black shirt with the NWO logo on it, ended up being one of the top-selling bits of merchandise for that entire decade. So it's crazy to see how far it had come and what it was meaning for the business. Because the late 90s was the boom period. You have the golden age, when wrestling first started going national in the mid to late 80s. The national expansion. It was no longer about territories. It was about one company having a nationwide grip on the business. But then you had the big period where things were changing. There were these new characters coming in. All new talent being showcased week in and week out. And this is it. What a time to be alive, if they say. Let's go for it again. I don't think it's going to be enough to finish it.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, it was. Okay, clean sweep. NWO wins. Nash, Hogan, you just hang in the back. Just collect your paycheck. NWO wins. Imagine if that happened in real life. There was a time when NWO was kind of running the show. They got their own pay-per-view, sold out in 1997. And obviously their names were featured in the games and other promotional stuff. There was even an episode of Monday Nitro, which is WCW's Monday Night Show, which ran directly against Monday Night Raw on the USA Network. And they even had dedicated, there was this one episode where they dedicated an entire hour to it being NWO Nitro, where Hogan would be out there on commentary, Nash would be on commentary, and then Ted DiBiase, former Million Dollar Man in WWF, he was revealed to be the benefactor for WCW, the man who financed them. So he'd be out there and in their corner. I think that was to kind of test out to see what it would be like if NWO was their own entity, but still owned by WCW, of course. So that's basically the gist of the game. It's just wrestling. Obviously, more fun if you have more players to play with, and then of course once you unlock more people. But it's still a good opportunity to take a trip down memory lane and remember, where these wrestling games came from and how some of them, for better or worse, hold up. I mean, they could still be enjoyable diversions. So yeah, that's gonna do it. I've already forgotten how upset I got at Mike Tyson's Punch-Out earlier. So now let's keep this good feeling going. I think I'll be back with some more wrestling games, maybe just some other games in general. Yeah, I got time. I got time. I got energy. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. As always, it's Brian E, aka MrGribbons87, saying thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for playing along. And if you guys like wrestling, feel free to say something in the comments. Let me know what you really like. Did you grow up in the same time period as me? Did you watch the same kind of wrestling? How'd you feel about it? Who's your favorite wrestlers? Who's your favorite tag team? Your favorite entrance theme? Favorite pay-per-view? Favorite whatever? I don't care. Talk. If you guys want to, chit-chat and have a little fun, go for it. And I'll drop in, leave my 2 cents on it. So, look forward to some more wrestling games. Most likely the next one's in the N64 Aki THQ lineup. Revenge, WrestleMania 2000, No Mercy. I think we got a lot of mileage to go with those. So that'll come in due time. Y'all take care now, and I will be back.